What's up, Gene Ryan, unwrapping the headphones.
La, da, da, da.
We're live in the studio. We're about a minute away from Ask a Cop. Ron Tinsley here, Officer Tinsley from the Duluth Police Department again, ready to answer some questions for y'all. Now, we do have some questions we're going to try to get to from last week or that have come in through the website at mix108.com. And so we've got those opportunities to get those questions answered. Plus, of course, your questions right here in the Facebook comments area are welcome as well. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can, either today or as soon as we can through the course of our conversations with Officer Tinsley. So here we are. We're about 30 seconds away, getting ready to do another little round of Ask a Cop and very exciting stuff. So we've got some people joining us already. Welcome to the party.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to set this down for just a second because I need to do radio things. Like putting my headphones on. All right, and here we go, folks. 10 seconds away.
It's time for Ask a Cop with Gene and Cooper.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm a cop, you idiot. Ask a question now. 740-2MIX or submit one at mix108.com.
Officer Tinsley from the Duluth Police Department here with us again this Tuesday morning, as we do every Tuesday right around this time. And we are also, again, live on Facebook Live video, so you can watch the whole thing as well and submit questions through Facebook Live if you don't want to call in or submit questions through our website. So plenty of options to submit your questions here this morning. Now, a couple things we wanted to touch base on right off the bat, a couple different things going on that you wanted to touch base on. And the first one, of course, I think it's worth talking about is, of course, it's always a good idea to buckle up, Officer Tinsley, but, of course, Click It or Ticket is a campaign that happens every year, and it's kicking off this time of year now again.
Yep, we're doing it this week. We got agencies around the area. There's increased traffic enforcement with seatbelt violations. So just put them on. It's going to save you, one, a fine, and two, it's going to save your life. And that's the idea behind this, is just to make drivers aware, just to bring awareness to drivers that all occupants of the vehicle nowadays have to be wearing their seatbelts. And just so you know that it is a primary violation now. So if an officer sees you not wearing your seatbelt, they can pull you over. That includes your passengers. So as a driver, make sure, especially if they're under 16, that they're putting their seatbelts on. And if you're over 16, you could actually, as a passenger, receive a citation.
That was the question I was just going to ask, because I heard that just the other day who was doing a little bit of reading on the very subject of enforcement regarding this this time of year for Click It or Ticket. And as you mentioned, anybody in the vehicle is susceptible to being a part of a ticket. However, there's an age at which it goes from falling on the parent to falling on the passenger. And you said that's 16?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So definitely important to make sure that your kids or anybody riding in a vehicle with you are buckled up before you start and take off to wherever you're heading to.
I would think, too, that you'd probably see a lot of violations of people sitting in the back seats, more so than, I think it's just a given. I mean, I don't know. I don't even think twice about it when I'm in the front seat. But I think in the back seat, I think that's where people will just be like, well, I'm in the back seat. I don't need to wear a seatbelt. But you do, so you have to wear a seatbelt in the back seat, so...
Yep, and
that ticket.
Yep, and again, it's just it's just one of those things where there's no guarantee it's going to save your life, but you know what? Throw it on, it may save your life.
Absolutely. Now, one other thing that you want to touch base on, I know it's been kind of a recurring theme, but with the nicer weather, there's been a little bit of an increase, not only here in Duluth, but around the area in general, of vehicle prowls.
Yeah, I know. I just saw on your Facebook page too that you had a thing inside. On vehicle prowls up in Cloquet, that there was a warning out there.
Yep.
And I know that I did kind of research our vehicle prowls in the past week, and there was a huge increase in the amount of vehicle prowls. And again, you got to remove your vehicle, you got to remove the valuables from your vehicle.
Right.
I mean, again, there's no guarantee that the prowlers are not going to go on your vehicle, but especially if it's unlocked. But they're not going to get away with anything. And it's still something to report if you do happen to see somebody that has been in your vehicle. You're going to still want to report that vehicle prowl. But at least they're not going to get away with anything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There's just no worse feeling than walking out to your car and you see the broken glass.
Yeah, it's
you
never,
know, you just feel
never a
super
fun
violated,
situation.
and it's one of those things too where we live, we're on the east end of town, and I had just change taken out of my cup. That's all. I never leave anything in my car. broken window for that for like 48 cents. So of course I'm just furious. But it's one of those things too, where like you said, just take the precautions. It happens. Over something senseless as change, but at least you minimize the odds by not having. Even like you said, a really good point you said last week was even a grocery bag. The prowler doesn't know what's in there. They could think it's a tablet, and it could be a pack of gum.
Or dirty laundry.
Or
Right.
it could be dirty underwear, and let's hope they steal that.
There you go.
That's what you get.
Surprise. So I know we have some questions we've gotten through our website. We also got one off of Facebook. Mark is asking kind of an interesting question. He regularly drives Arrowhead Road, of course, right by the public safety building, which is where you guys are based out of, a lot of the officers in town. And he says, I drive 30 miles an hour every day, which is this posted speed limit there on that road, I believe. I'm assuming he's right. And he says, regularly people are coming up right behind me going 40 miles an hour or faster. And he's more than anything else asking, why is it that people are speeding so much on the road right next to the police station? Which is kind of a gotcha question, but
Right.
I don't know. I figured I'll bring it up for Mark.
Well, why are they speeding anywhere? I guess
Right.
the question becomes, who was it that wrote in?
Mark was the guy asking
Mark,
the question.
just continue to do around 30 miles an hour. You're going to be safe.
There you go.
The ones that are taking the chance of speeding, they're taking a chance of getting pulled over and getting a ticket.
Right.
know
That's
what I mean?
You worry about you. You can control you is basically the good way to go about it.
Yep.
Right. There's one of these days, an officer going, ha ha, somebody's speeding right past him. So Ron, I know that we had talked about this, and maybe there's some kind of reference we can give to finish, because this is an out-of-state driver's question. Can a legally licensed 15-year-old from North Dakota drive legally in Minnesota?
As long as they're licensed in another state and they're legally licensed, yes, they can. But again, so any state, if you're licensed in any state, you can come in Minnesota and drive. But of course, again, you have to have a valid license and following those restrictions of your state.
Right. Well, that makes perfect sense. And I'm it doesn't clarify in the question, but it may be is it a permit? Is it maybe a farmer's license? I know
Right.
that's something too in some states where you can actually have a farmer's driver's license too.
Right, and again, you have to follow the restrictions.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? Of
Right.
that state.
And I would think you could stop by the DMV and they'd be happy to point that out. Because as you said, every state's different. So,
Right.
And if it's a farmer's license, well, that's different than obviously on the freeway.
Right.
Speaking of freeways, highways, from Cody, he submitted a question: can you pass a vehicle on the highway on a solid yellow if you're able to see the required distance and it's safe to pass?
On a double yellow.
It said solid yellow line.
Wow.
Yeah, double
it's,
yellow.
yeah,
Yep.
Right. So, quick answer: no. It's in the driver manual. A double yellow line indicates a no passing zone.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Only time, and you have to think about it realistically, as if the roadway is a single lane, two-way roadway, and there's a car stalled in that drive lane. Of course, you're going to want to go around it. Proceed with caution. But again, if you're just driving down the road behind a vehicle, you cannot, pass that vehicle because it's considered a no passing zone with a double yellow line.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, too, is usually those, I've seen those on kind of more of the country roads, and it's like, you really want to pass when you can't see over this ridge or it's a curve. I mean, that's why they have the solid yellow lines for a reason, because they've looked at the road and realized this is a dangerous spot to pass. So there you go, Cody. Your answer there. Don't do it.
Kind of a question from just observances that I've seen as I've been out and about, and we actually got a question from somebody else about this as well. Just a refresher on the rules when it comes to railroad crossings here in town. There's a couple with the railroad that was the Lake Superior Railroad, the one that people can ride for fun, not not cargo railroad, if you will.
Sure.
That goes from downtown north, and there's a couple places where there are some street crossings. The one that comes to mind in my case is going right in Canal Park next to the deck. What is the rules when it comes to stopping on railroad tracks? Now, I know the answer to this, and it should be an obvious answer, but I see all the time people that are turning onto, Railroad Street or whatever it is, that crossroad, and they're stopped on the tracks waiting to turn.
Well, I'm not going to answer that question as far as knowing the statute.
Right.
And if there's a law, but I'm going to tell you right now that I would not want to be stopped on those tracks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if the train's coming,
Yeah, you don't want to be in the way.
You're going to have to either move back or forward, and I just would not stop on the tracks.
Well, and oftentimes there isn't an opportunity to move because there might be somebody in front of you or behind you, and then you're stuck there.
So you're going to want to stop before those tracks.
Right. Well,
and then as soon as that car on the other side of the tracks moves forward, then proceed.
Right. Let's see here. Question from Jen. Let's see if I can. Basically asking a question about people who tailgate while driving. She says it's a regular occurrence. Either she herself or she sees drivers doing this to her or to other people. For people that are following the speed limit and have individuals that are behind them who are going faster than they should be or are impatient about that, how should that type of situation be handled?
The best thing is just if it's a 2-lane roadway, so if you got 2 lanes, just get over into the right-hand lane and let them by.
Okay.
Don't engage them. So, and of course, if they do happen to get irate with you and start following you, try to get to a public location or even drive to the police station. If you're in an area where that's not, you're not close to a public area or a police station, get on the phone and call 911. But the best thing you do is just not engage them, pull over and, let them by.
Sure.
If you got their license plate number, let's say it was a real aggravated scene where they're driving really recklessly and whatever, you get to a safe place, could you call 911 and report their license plates and make of the vehicle?
Yes.
Could you still do that?
And I if it comes to that extreme, try to get a license plate. Maybe better yet, if you can get even a good look at the driver, make the report, because if they're doing it to you, they're going to be doing it to somebody else.
Right.
It seems like a good place to kind of end here this morning. Somebody, Craig, actually asked a question on Facebook Live. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I got one more question.
Yeah.
Actually, I just want to touch base on, and it's going to be quick. I got a message on our Facebook page about selling a car on the roadways with a for sale sign, and the person received a parking citation for trying to sell their car on the roadway.
Good question.
So I did a little research. The answer, from what I gathered, was that it's either got to be parked in the driveway, not in your front lawn. So in a driveway. If you don't have a driveway, try to find a business that has private property, as long as they allow you to have the vehicle on their property. You can have it there as long as it's not in a residential area.
So basically, as long as it's legally parked, regardless of whether it's for sale or not, it should be fine.
Right.
Okay. So the question that I was going to bring up to kind of wrap up the day here today is kind of a quick question. And I don't know if you'll have an answer for this off the top of your head or not, but maybe you kind of give a little bit of a guess. Craig asks on Facebook Live, what is the most common citation that you see?
Well, if we're talking about traffic enforcement, speed is a big one. Speed is always an issue. And a lot of the speed citations are written for 10 over.
Sure.
I mean, people are out there and they're going way too fast for the area that they're driving in. The other thing is we do get a lot of citations written for no proof of insurance, and that's good that this is brought up, because it is a state law that you're required in your vehicle to carry proof of insurance.
Right.
And if you don't have it, you can actually receive a citation for that. So that's something that it's almost going to happen, is if you don't have your proof of insurance with you.
Sure, makes perfect sense.
So I guess that's the two that on the top of my head that we write on a regular basis.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the air this morning. We're going to continue the conversation a little bit more on Facebook Live on the Mix and Right Facebook page. If you want to join us there, we'll take another question or two if we can. And we'll continue musically on the air here with some stuff from Calvin Harris and Rihanna, their latest, and Rachel Platten on the way here at Mix and Right.
Oh, good morning, sir. Who is it?
Some guy with a
All right, so I have one other question. This is a very specific question, but if you can offer some advice for Racine. She is asking for some advice about some neighbors that are apparently regularly drinking and causing a scene and being loud and whatnot. And obviously, probably the best answer to this is just to call and report the situation.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the and forgive me for I'm not targeting college kids, but a lot of the party calls that we get are in relation to college students, and hopefully once they leave, for going home or whatever they're doing, those slow down in the summertime. But if you have neighbors that are there and they're making too much noise, and it doesn't matter if they're college students or just the public or whatever the case may be, but you're going to want to call 911, make a report. If you're worried about retaliation, just call 911 and tell them you want to remain anonymous, and you can even ask to have an officer call you to get more information, and they can drive by. Of course, they can go up and deal with the situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other quick one, and then we can kind of wrap up here on Facebook Live as well. There's a couple different people that actually were talking about seatbelt safety and the Click It or Ticket campaign. A couple different people asked the question about why it isn't a requirement for motorcyclists to wear a helmet. If you have an answer for that. Now, that's kind of a...
Yeah, that, of course, and again, you got to remember, we don't make the laws.
Right.
The state does, and who knows? That may come down the line later on down the line with motorcyclists being a law that requires them to wear a helmet. Right now, there's no law that they have to. Eye protection, yes. Helmet, no. Seatbelts, they're the cars are equipped with them. You have to wear them, and I as far back as I know that I've been driving, you have to wear a seatbelt.
Right.
I know that there was a time where it was optional, but nowadays with all the state laws and stuff, now they made it a primary offense, and again, we can stop a vehicle for you simply not wearing a seatbelt. So
that makes sense. And
yeah,
I was just going to say, I mean, obviously, even though it is an optional thing for motorcyclists with helmets and things like that, obviously, while it is optional, it's definitely not a bad idea.
No, and
by
I'll
any
tell
stretch.
you, I all the way up till last year, I owned a motorcycle, and you wouldn't catch me going riding without a helmet.
Right.
No, it's kind of the same thing with people on bicycles. There's no law that requires a person on a bicycle to wear a helmet. Is it smart? Yes. You fall down and hit your head on that pavement, I'm going to guarantee you're going to wish you had some type of protection.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of head injuries as a result of not wearing helmets.
Well, Officer Tinsley, thank you for all the extra time here on Facebook Live as well, and we look forward to chatting again next week.
All right.